So always, as a child, I always wanted to go, like really close up to those mountains, to those snow-clad mountains, and be like higher up in altitude.
Brinda, you are an inspiration to all the travelers and especially women who are afraid or not allowed to travel alone. But you captivate a large audience on Instagram with your travel experiences from all around the world. So, how did you develop interest in traveling?
So firstly, thank you so much. I feel like it's very weird for me to hear that, somebody like me is actually inspiring so many people. And I mean, I think you never get used to being an influencer. You never get used to being somebody who can inspire. But anyway, so it started. So actually, when I was growing up, I always used to travel with my family, and we always used to go to the mountains. And I think that's where the love for, my love for mountains comes from. So when it was time for me to choose where I had to go to college, I got admission in this college called JP. And I know they had a campus in Noida, but then I got to know they also have a campus in Shimla. So that was so when I got to know, I was like, you know what, I need to get out of Delhi and explore the mountains a little bit, and stay in a hostel and stuff. So that's what happened. And when I went to college, I started traveling, and I just got so addicted to that feeling of being independent and being solely responsible for your actions, and just the different experiences that you experience. And these are things that you can't really predict before going on a trip. So I liked the chase. And I loved the fact that there are so many other mountains for me left to explore, and so many more beautiful places. So every trip I kept on getting more addicted to this feeling. So that's how I got started in traveling. Yeah.
Wow. And we are all accustomed and getting flooded with travel pictures and beaches of like islands and famous buildings on regular with your Instagram page. And it's so lovely to see you. And it's so lovely that we are sitting at home and we are not able to go outside, but we can see all the lovely places that you're visiting.
Thank you.
You moved to Dubai where you worked a corporate 9 to 5 job and established multiple streams of income in order to travel extensively. And now you
Yeah.
are 24/7 traveler. So how was your experience with the two lives you lived? Like on one hand, corporate job with a good income, and on the other hand, traveling 24/7 independently.
So I think having a corporate job is actually really wonderful. I think if you have a good team and if you have a good manager who is not on top of your head all the time, who is probably not micromanaging you, and who lets you have your own life. I think that's what I had in Dubai. I mean, my team was absolutely wonderful, so I never really had an issue whenever I had to travel, or when so during in 1 year we got 23 working days off, which is basically a month if you include weekends. So when I got a job, and my probation period was over, I was like, I need to start traveling. And that was Feb. I started working in August. My probation period ended in Feb, and end of Feb I was out. I had taken my first set of leaves. And I think that year what I planned to do was just take my leaves very smartly. So I ended up traveling to 12 countries in 2019. And it was an incredible year, because that year I was so focused on just traveling, and I didn't do any savings that year, because I was like, I deserve this, because isse pehle I never had enough money to go anywhere. In fact, whenever I used to go to Himachal, or I used to go for a trek or anything, I used to spend about having a corporate job is fun as long as you have a good team. But I think when Instagram started growing for me, and I started getting good projects, the first big project for me from my account was Make My Trip. And I think that's when I realized that I need to choose one thing, because just like when you're in school, you're playing a sport, and you're excelling in it, there is one thing that you have to let go of. Like I had so many friends who used to not come to school because of the fact that they were playing and training or whatever. So that was the time where I thought, I think it's time for me to leave my job, because I just wanted to concentrate more on traveling and building my career as an influencer that I had been doing in the last 3 years along with my job. And I think the best part about this career field is that you are your own boss, which is a different kind of feeling, because now I know, okay, I'm not earning the same amount of money every month, but I know if I'm working hard this month, or if I'm creating good content this month, if I'm creating more content this month, I know I am going to get more money as compared to your regular, as compared to your average in the next month. So मेहनत का फल मेरे को directly इस line of field में मेरे को दिखता है. Whereas in a corporate job, 1 month you're like, oh, you're slacking off work and you're just like, oh, I don't feel like working. You are still going to get your salary at the end of the month. So I mean, both things have their pros and cons. So after I left my job, I wanted to give this like a good time for me to have and just experience in terms of being an influencer and how much I can earn and potential and what shelf life I have as an influencer also. So I'm giving myself like a year, and then I'm going to decide if I want to go back to a corporate job or continue being an influencer.
That was inspiring. Like, you are so much accomplished. Like, you had a corporate job where you had the experience of working under someone, and now you're working independently. And, like, as a female, you are just an inspiration to all the women who are listening to the show right now, because people usually underestimates, and sometimes females fear to go out. Like, there's a myth that it is dangerous to travel solo, especially as a female. It is no surprise that time and again women are told that they should never travel solo. So what are your views on this?
Yeah, I also faced that actually, and only till last year I was not confident enough to take my first solo trip. So in August, when I went to Manali I mean, not for the first time, but for the first time after I left my job, I was. I was traveling alone, and that was my first solo trip actually, and it was so liberating. And while I was on that trip, I realized, what, I kind of regret not going for a solo trip earlier, because I was always very scared. And also I think being a woman, it's very difficult for you to convince your parents.
Yeah.
I see now that there are a lot of parents and a lot of people who are becoming much more open about things, which is absolutely amazing, and I love to see this change. And I feel like everyone should be taking full advantage of this, that at least we have examples of people doing the same things. So I remember when I used to be going to my parents and telling them, my parents still think that I'm very weird, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm traveling and stuff. So I keep giving them examples of other female travelers who are my friends and who I've always looked up to, and I keep telling them, I'm not the only one who's doing this. There are other women also, just to make them feel ki, okay, firstly, I'm not the only one, and secondly, it's not that bad out there, honestly, because unless you step out, you're never going to know. And up until that point, I always had somebody I was traveling with, because honestly, I feel like I was scared even in college. Yeah. And when I was in college, actually, I was not surrounded by people who were into traveling or who had started traveling properly. And when I took my first trip with my group of friends, that was the time, I think, that broke the culture in my college, that, okay, you know what, everyone can go on trips and stuff. So yeah, it's really sad. I feel like as women, we have, we're always scared. And I, like, even now, whenever I'm taking a cab or I'm in a bus or I'm anywhere, I always have my live location sent to someone. But I feel like as a woman, you never stop being scared. You just have to be prepared, I feel. And now is like the perfect time to take the plunge and go for your solo trip.
Yeah. Like, I would say
Yeah.
that every day millions of women travel the world alone. It is safe and doable, and you won't end up in a ditch, but it is just that you need to take some precautions, and self
Yeah.
awareness is always necessary.
Yeah.
Like, you have been in so many track trips, but the first experience is always unforgettable. So can you share your first track experience?
Oh yeah, of course. So my first trek was to this very popular trek now. It's called Triund. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
So what happened was, the time I was planning to go to Triund, it wasn't that popular, and so I studied in Shimla, right? And when I had gone to college, I had like a couple of treks in my list that I just had to tick off on my own, one after another. And the first one was Triund, because I knew it was an easy trek. It was not that long. I can come back the next day. It's not that expensive. So I'd done all this research before going, but I was not able to find the people to go with. So I was the only one, and ideally, I think I should have just gone alone and done the trek. But I asked one of my friends who was my senior, and he gathered like 8 people along who wanted to go. But I was like, you know what, it's okay, I don't know these people, and a couple of them were my juniors. I kind of knew them, and I was like, you know what, I think this is like the best time to go, and I just wanted to go for the trek, no matter what. So we left, and when we started the trek, that was my first experience, right? So I had no idea what to look forward to, or if it was going to snow. I mean, I checked the weather and everything, but I didn't know exactly what to expect. And when I started the trek, I was so in love with the nature, and instantly felt in connection with the mountains and with the trees and the way I was walking, and it was so therapeutic. It was amazing. When we reached the top, so me along with two of my friends, we were separated from the group because we were a little faster, and so we decided to, you know what, we'll just continue going, we'll reach first, doesn't matter. So when we reached, we had like a little tea break for 15-20 minutes. Then we were stuck in a hailstorm which lasted for like 45 minutes when we reached on the top, and I was scared. I was so scared because we knew that you know what, I don't know how we're going to pitch our tents now. And right after the hailstorm ended, it started to snow, and my friends, the rest of the group, they were nowhere to be seen. And I was so scared because, again, I was not prepared for this. I had no idea something like this could happen on a trek. There's only a limited amount of research you can do, and everything. Thankfully, these guys came safely and they met us. Obviously we couldn't pitch our tents then, because I think along the way, the person who was carrying the tent, it tore, and I don't know what happened. We ended up taking shelter in like a little cave type of a place, which is below a little mandir or a little shrine that was there. And there was nobody on Triund at the top at that time, because everyone went back, and I was too scared to go back because it was already 5 p.m. and I didn't know how to walk in the snow. So yeah, that was one hell of an experience. And we ended up, we were 11 people, because we met 3 more people from my college doing the same trek, and then they met us at the top. And when we met them, so we were 11 in total, right? So in that little cave, I don't know, I was feeling a little unsafe, because I don't know, for 11 people it was just too small. So I gathered the girls with me, and we went up to, there's a forest guest house in Triund at the top. So we went, and somebody had already occupied that space. There was some group from Delhi, so they decided, okay, you know what, we'll give you some space on the floor. So we were 5 girls. We cramped up into a very small space next to the bed, and our clothes were wet, our shoes were wet, and couldn't sleep. Were really scared of what was going to happen. Had no idea what we are going to do. We had raw cup noodles at night because we were hungry. And when we woke up in the morning, there was more snow, and it was still snowing. Around 10 a.m. the weather cleared a little bit, and I just decided, you know what, I told everyone, I said, it's time to leave, because otherwise the weather's going to get worse, and I don't know what's going to happen then. And when the weather cleared a little bit, the clouds from in front of the Dhauladars cleared, and I still don't know how to describe that feeling, because that was the first time I was seeing those kind of mountains that close. And I remember as a child, whenever I used to go on these trips with my parents, when you're traveling to a hill station, you see these snow-clad mountains from afar. And I always used to ask people, or my dad, or whoever was driving, or just anyone who was next to me, कि वहाँ तक जाने में कितना time लगेगा. So always, as a child, I always wanted to go, like really close up to those mountains, to those snow-clad mountains, and be like higher up in altitude. And I don't know, just that feeling I always had as a child. And that was the first time I was able to reach that close to those mountains. And it was amazing. And I knew then, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to stop. When I think about this whole experience now, I feel like we were just scared for nothing. But I think obviously we were children, and that was the first trek. And वो first trek में इतना भयंकर experience हुआ था हमारे साथ.
That taught you a lot.
Yeah, of course, and that taught me a lot also. But yeah, that trip was amazing. And when we came down, we were firstly glad we made it all safe. And yeah, we just amazing. It was an amazing trip. That was my first trek.
That was a challenging experience and also a lovely one. Like, you will not believe, after listening everything, I was just imagining the situations and how you would be there. And now I'm like, come on, I also want to go on track now. You will not believe, like,
Totally good.
it's my dream that after 12th, like just after 12th, before going to college, I want to go to Ladakh on a bike, and that's my dream. I want to
Oh
really
my
complete it. Uh, and
God.
there's some, like, I like doing adventures, but I'm in class 10th, and I cannot do anything right now.
You are in 10th? Oh my
Yeah.
God. You have a lot of time, don't worry. I'm sure you will have the time to experience everything that you have on your list and even add more things. I would have one suggestion for you. Try, if you can, stay in a hostel when you go to college. I think that's a different learning experience that you get, that you I feel like that you need to have in life.
Yeah,
So try if you can.
I would be moving like out of India, so yeah, I would be staying in the college, in the hostel.
Oh, that's even more exciting. Oh my God, where are you planning to go?
Yeah, US.
Amazing, amazing.
Like, we all are, like, most of us are living inside a bubble, and this bubble is our whole world. But if you want to achieve new things, then we need to expand this bubble. And to achieve something new, you need to get out of your comfort zone, your bubble. Linda, what
Mhm.
would you say on this, like on moving out of the comfort zone?
I think obviously initially it's very difficult, and for the kind of person that I've always personally been, I don't like being in in a place which is not in my comfort zone. And I think when I went to college, I constantly, um, I think you learn with time that you have to constantly leave your comfort zone to achieve things and to, I don't know, just progress in life, I feel. And I understood that step by step. So when I graduated from college, I obviously I didn't have a job, because I did engineering in biotechnology. I wasn't getting a good job that would pay me well. And by paying me well, I mean I had an offer for rupees 5,000 a month. And honestly, that was a little upsetting for me, because I'm like, okay, you know what, I've done 4 years of engineering, I probably don't deserve this. And it wasn't a job that I would want to do either. So that I think that time was um, um, very I was very worried that time about what to do, and what needs I mean so ideally I should have gone for my masters, but obviously I didn't have money. I wanted to go abroad, couldn't afford it. And I didn't really want to stay back in India and study, because again I wanted to explore more things and have more things to experience. Then when I met Anune, I moved to Dubai only, knowing him for like a month. And I think about it now, that was a very big, bold, dangerous, scary move that I did, just um, going to a whole new country, and just based on knowing a guy for maybe a month. And but yeah, I I was so desperate to to make something out for my make something out for myself, and do something in my life and make something happen for myself, basically. And when I was in Dubai, I was doing, like, again, like a very stupid job with somebody we knew. And I mean, she's an amazing person, but I used to do some nonsensical work for her. And she used to pay me 1,500 dirhams, which was 30,000 rupees, in INR. Which, when you look at it, it's it's good money, but in Dubai it was hardly anything. And I remember, I worked with her for like a month and a half, and bought my mom an iPad for 1,000 dirhams, and bought my dad like an expensive perfume with that 1,500. um, and then only I know how many interviews I must have taken after I decided to let go of this job. And how many times I went out, and the number of interviews I took, and the number of jobs I interviewed for, after I mean, till I landed a job in JSK. It was a big struggle for 2 months. And yeah, I think that's when I learned that you really need to step out of your comfort zone and take a leap of faith for yourself. If you and just follow your gut feeling. I feel I always felt, when it came to moving to Dubai, when I had the chance, I always felt that I might something good might just happen. So it was a gut feeling which I followed, and I'm so glad I did, because obviously things worked out. Touch wood, things really worked out. And yeah, and I feel like if you give yourself the chance to explore your comfort zone, I think you should start doing that once you graduate from school, because I think that's the best time. That's when I started traveling or went on treks or started rock climbing or anything. I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So one step at a time. I feel, yeah. So वो
Wow.
success के लिए करना पड़ता है. and
Hmm.
and I feel like when all this is happening, um, you don't really get to know that, oh, you know what, I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone. You don't get to know that. That's not what you're thinking. All you're thinking is, you're not really thinking anything. All you're doing is going after success and going after what you think might just work out for you.
So true. Like you took a risky decision, but it was like you followed your gut and intuition, which is like 99% right. So we should go for that. And it
Yeah.
is so true. Like if you would stay in your comfort zone, that is where you will fail. Because
Mhm.
success is not a comfortable procedure. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. So that's the normal thing that
Correct.
everyone should learn. And because if you want to achieve everything, if you want to go and just visit the whole world, or you want to be really successful, then it cannot happen in your small bubble where you are just with your blanket, your sleep is more important than anything. Then those things will not get accomplished. You really need to get out of your comfort zone. So, Brinda,
Yeah.
how was your experience on the show Make a Change? Let's start to more unashamed conversations.
Amazing. Actually, I love talking about my journey. I feel, because not enough people have heard it. Number one, and two, I think there's still a lot for people to take away from, I think, my journey, because I too came from nowhere, from nothing, having no money, having no experience, being scared, and not taking risks or whatever. And I was able to be where I am now. So I feel like there's a lot to take away from my journey as well. And yeah, it was very nice to be talking to you. Being in 10th, because you're so well spoken and you have so much experience and so many things to look forward to. I'm so happy and excited for you.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. And really, you are an inspiration and a motivation to all of us. Like, you inspired me to just go out on a track right now. And it
You
was
should
so
go for it
lovely to
before you
talk
go
to
to
you.
the US. Yeah, for sure. Should definitely go for a trek.
Yeah, I will. And that time, I will surely contact you and will share my whole experience. Or if possible, I will be going with you.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be. Thank you so much for being on the show today.